Have you ever walked out to your garden first thing in the morning and found your once perfect tomato plants looking like they've just been through a wind tunnel? The leaves curled up tightly, edges twisting inward almost claw-like. It's a moment that stops you cold. You think, did I water too little, too much? Is it disease, pests, and worst of all, are my tomatoes done for? This is a situation nearly every tomato grower runs into, especially during the heat of midsummer. The good news? It doesn't always mean disaster. In fact, if you act fast and smart, you can stop the damage in its tracks and even reverse it in just a few hours. What worked for my plants wasn't complicated or expensive. It came down to understanding the plant's stress signals, then using 3 simple interventions: deep morning watering, a temporary floating row cover for shade, and a foliar mist of diluted seaweed extract. Together, they saved my crop. So let's walk through what causes this dramatic leaf curl, how to fix it, and how to keep it from coming back. Why tomato leaves curl and why it happens overnight. So, tomato leaf curl is usually a defense mechanism, not a disease. The most common cause is environmental stress, especially from high temperatures combined with dry soil or, uneven watering. During a hot spell, tomatoes try to conserve moisture by curling their leaves to reduce surface area and slow down transpiration. It's a survival instinct, not a symptom of disease, though if ignored long enough, stress can open the door to pests and long-term damage. Another factor is sudden temperature shifts. When the days are blazing hot and the nights are still cool, the plant can react to the rapid change by curling its newer, more tender leaves. And if your watering schedule has been inconsistent, say a dry spell followed by a heavy soak, that kind of shock can trigger a similar reaction. The reason this kind of leaf curl appears overnight is because the plant reaches a tipping point during the hottest part of the previous day. You just don't notice the curled leaves until the sun comes up again and you inspect your garden. By then, the plant has already made the decision to go into self-preservation mode. Alright, so step 1, deep morning watering, not just a quick sprinkle. The first thing I did was water, but not just a surface splash. You see, tomatoes have deep roots, and when only the top inch of soil gets moist, they stay in a constant state of thirst. So, I soaked the base of the plant slowly and thoroughly, letting the water sink at least 6 to 8 inches deep. This encourages roots to grow downward, where the soil stays cooler and moist longer. Morning is the best time to do this. The plant gets a head start on hydration before the sun climbs too high. Watering in the evening might seem convenient, but it can leave leaves wet overnight and promote disease. Early hydration gives your plant strength to handle the midday heat without panicking and curling. Within just a few hours of deep watering, some of the leaves started to regain their shape. Step 2, temporary shade to break the heat wave. The next thing I added was temporary shade. In my case, a floating row cover, light, breathable fabric draped over hoops or stakes, was all I needed. It cut the intensity of the sun by about 30%, which is just enough to give the plant a breather without plunging it into darkness. If you don't have a row cover, an old sheet or light garden netting works in a pinch. This technique is especially helpful during back-to-back days of extreme heat. It prevents further moisture loss and gives the plant a chance to recover without the continued stress of harsh sun. Even just 2 or 3 afternoons under shade can make a noticeable difference. Don't use solid plastic or black tarps. They trap heat. You want something that breathes but softens the sun's blow. Think of it as sunglasses for your tomatoes. Step 3. Seaweed foliar mist to calm and nourish. The final step was a light foliar spray made with diluted seaweed extract. Seaweed contains natural growth hormones like cytokinins and auxins that help plants manage stress. It also contains trace minerals and micronutrients that promote cell repair. I mixed just a capful into a spray bottle of water and lightly misted the foliage in the early morning, right after watering but before the sun got too high. You want the leaves to absorb the nutrients without getting scorched. This kind of foliar feeding doesn't replace soil nutrition, but it gives the plant a quick boost in times of stress. By the next morning, the new growth was noticeably perkier. The older leaves stayed curled. Once the damage is done, they rarely bounce back completely, but they didn't worsen. Most importantly, the plant began redirecting its energy into new, healthy leaves and steady fruiting. Don't expect perfect recovery overnight. Tomatoes are tough, but they still need time to stabilize. The older leaves stayed curled. Once the damage is done, they rarely bounce back completely, but they didn't worsen. Most importantly, the plant began redirecting its energy into new, healthy leaves and steady fruiting. Don't expect perfect recovery overnight. Tomatoes are tough, but they still need time to stabilize. What you're looking for is no new curling steady growth and bright green leaf color. You may need to continue morning watering and light shading for a few more days until the heat wave breaks or your plant adapts. It's also important to mulch around the base of your plants. Straw, shredded leaves, or grass clippings help lock in moisture and buffer temperature swings at the root zone. This makes your fixes last longer and, really protects against future stress. Once the crisis is over, go back to a deep but infrequent watering routine and make sure to inspect leaves daily. Catching the first signs of curl early lets you intervene before things spiral out of control. Not all tomato leaf curl is environmental though. Viruses like tomato yellow leaf curl or pest issues like whiteflies can cause similar symptoms. But if you see a sudden curl during a heat spell and there are no signs of pests or mottled leaf color, it's almost always environmental stress and honestly, fixable. Deep hydration, gentle shade, and a natural stress-relieving foliar spray brought my tomato bed back from the edge. It's a lazy but effective method that doesn't rely on expensive inputs or panic pruning. Just observation, timing, and a little understanding of how your plants talk to you. If this helped you rescue your tomatoes, just imagine how many others are out there dealing with the same curling leaves and second-guessing every move. Be sure to subscribe to Hydrohaven and share this video with a friend who's growing tomatoes this summer. Let's turn garden stress into garden success, one fix at a time.